sharing how to use LinkedIn to sell digital products and high ticket packages today. Now, the information that I'm going to be sharing with you, for those of you that have been to my workshops before, you'll kind of know the layout of how I deliver. I like to call out what I see people doing wrong first and then share with you what's working. So everything that I'm going to be sharing with you today has come from our own experience working with lots of different businesses specifically to sell digital products and high ticket packages. And what I want you to think about is, as I reveal each of these points, there are 5 of them in total. I can't see the chat box now temporarily, just so you all know. So I'm not ignoring you. I will look at it as I go through. However, as I reveal each of these points, which one of them most resonates and connects with your current position? So I imagine the majority of you on here today have a product and service that you're looking to sell, or you work for somebody that is trying to get you to help them to sell it in the same way. And you will be coming across certain challenges and obstacles. And from the multiple conversations that I have every single week, these 5 reasons typically come up every single time, or at least one of them do, with every conversation that I have. And the first one is that when people come to us, they talk to us about what it is they're trying to do. They talk to us about trying to scale it. They typically have this feast and famine type idea with their business, where they're either really, really busy, so they have to stop marketing and selling to deliver. And then when they lose that contract, they then have to go heavy on marketing and selling, and then they have to stop delivering. And it's this up and down cycle that's very, very stressful. What I'm finding is that lots of people are selling their time for money and therefore struggling to scale their business to the point where they're not having to desperation sell every single month. Number one is purely because the business model that they have right now isn't sustainable. It's not scalable, right? That is typically something that comes up all the time. Number two is that your product and service is good. You probably know it's good. You probably know that what you're trying to deliver delivers a result and an outcome. However, you rely solely on word of mouth and referrals and aren't quite sure how to build your audience up to a point where people, and when I say people, I mean strangers, want to buy from you. And therefore, you have a bit of a social media problem if you're trying to use these platforms in which you can't get the impressions, you can't get the following, you can't get prospects to inquire with you, and therefore you don't really know what to do. That's number two. Your audience just isn't big enough. You're relying solely on word of mouth, and you struggle to sell to strangers. Now, number three is the one which I love to help people out the most with, and it's the thing that I believe makes the biggest difference. What I've noticed time and time again, whenever I speak to people throughout the whole of the time that I've been doing this, is that so many people will utilize these social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. They'll be creating content. They'll be building up a network on LinkedIn as an example, but then it doesn't lead anywhere. It's not connected to anywhere. And therefore, when I ask them what their conversion numbers are, they don't have them. And so their whole strategy, unfortunately, is non-existent. They're just active. They're just posting. They're just out there doing stuff in the hope that something's going to come back. Having a predictable and sustainable marketing process, sales process that leads to consistent conversion is what I think is the number one problem that so many people are having right now. Number four is one that's most recently come up. It wasn't on here. It's actually replaced one of the other reasons that we had on the last couple of workshops that I've ran. And it's this fear of selling. They dislike the feeling of actually trying to get people to buy from them. They try to convince, they try to persuade, but actually can't quite get people over the line because actually they don't feel comfortable enough in those situations. And that's a confidence thing. I think someone put in the chat box, actually, confidence was a bit of an issue. And this is something that I'm loving helping people with at the moment. It's helping develop that process that gets you onto calls with people that want to speak to you. It gets messages coming into you and actually having great conversations with people that want to give you the time of day. this for me changed when I started to run workshops like this as an example. I invite people to book calls in throughout. Those calls are from people that want to talk to me. And so with that, the conversations, I don't have to sell to anyone. I literally come up, I answer their questions. If people want to work with us, they do. If they don't, that's also okay. We utilize urgency, we utilize scarcity, we do all of it. However, I'm not pressure selling anyone to buy. They know whether they want to work to us or work with us when they book the call in. It's kind of how it works. So I don't have that feeling of selling. I don't have that icky feeling that so many people get, but I know lots of others do. And then number 5 is that the strategy that you've got, and again, I don't mean to accuse anyone on this stuff, but this is just a harsh reality, right? And I'm just going to share with you the honest truths that I've got with all the stuff that I've done over the last 5 years. But the strategy that you've got is based on the hope of someone reaching out to you, and you've got zero control over it. So you may get the odd lead coming in every now and again, but it's not consistent and you don't know when it's going to be. And so out of those 5 reasons that you've got there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to open up the chat box so I can see it. Which one most resonates with you as to the reason why you may not be selling the amounts that you want to right now? I've already had a few people mentioning 3, which is great. There's a few 2s coming through, which is fine. Natalie, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've got a couple of 1s. Okay, so it's actually a wide variety, which is typical, right? Everyone's in different positions. Everyone's got different businesses. Totally get it. So a few people are saying all of them. Again, totally fine, brilliant. The good news is that today I'm going to be covering content on it all. And so again, if you've got any questions, make sure that you put it into the Q&A so I can answer them for you. Now, the way that I've structured this for you is into 3 sections. Part 1, I'm going to be talking to you about your business model, about your brand, so around positioning. I'm then going to be taking you through the process part. So that number 3 there, that predictable, that sustainable process part, I'm going to be sharing with you what we have in place and what so many of our customers have got in place that's giving them consistent revenue month in and month out. And then part 3 is then going to be focusing in on the conversion, the making the money part, the being able to scale it. I'm going to be sharing with you just what we do and how it works. Now, I'm always conscious of these things, not to spend too much time talking about me because, well, I know deep down you don't really care. You're here for the information, right? I'm not naive. I know why you're here. However, I'm also conscious of the fact that I could be anybody. And so I like to share a little bit about me for you to be able to read on screen here for you. Just so, again, you can come and check me out online. You can look at our recommendations online, reviews online. I've shared my journey from day dot, right? I had a property business initially. I built up a brand for myself inside of that property business. Once I got to that business being relatively successful, people were asking me how I did it. And then also how I built up my personal brand. That's kind of how I've ended up where I am. But on there with you are some key points. And if you want to come and follow me, and again, I don't know if we're connected on LinkedIn, I'm actually genuinely interested. Out of interest, who am I currently connected to on LinkedIn? Are we currently connected? Give me a yes if we are connected. Give me a no if we're not. And what I'd love to know is if we're not, scan that QR code. And also, I'm just going to be really, really cheeky, right? You're all here today. Could you all scan that? If you're watching on your phone, don't do it. But if you've got your phones to hand and you're watching on a laptop, could you scan that QR code for me? And I'm going to absolutely smash this with value for you today. But could you just go and react to my latest post for me? Never done this before, but could you just go and put a thumbs up just on that post for me? And if you do, what I'll give you 100 content ideas for free, and I'll give you a complete guide to social selling for free as well. If you go and just react to my post, make sure that we're connected. I'll drop you the message. Elise, Victoria, sorry for some additional work, but could you go and send the 100 content ideas and the complete guide to social selling to anybody that reacts on that post for me? Just something there, just a little bit of it. Say, come to my profile, come check me out. All of the information, all of the stuff that I've done is on there. But there's one key point. Let's say 2 key points I want to emphasize. Number 1 is this whole presentation is one presentation that I'm running over the next 6 weeks. I'm running a workshop every week for the next 6 weeks, simply adding as much value as I possibly can. I'm going to be running one on digital products like I'm doing now. I'm going to be running one on LinkedIn. I'm going to be running webinars. I'm going to be talking to you about building monthly recurring revenue-based businesses. I'm going to be talking to you about content creation and how you do it. I'm going to be running one every single week. You'll see all the details on my profile when I'm doing them. But what we're here to do is help businesses grow sustainably month in, month out, and remove the need for you guys where you may feel that you desperately need to sell every single month. If you follow me on LinkedIn for the last 3 months, you probably may have got a little bit annoyed with the amount of travel spam that is on there right now. I am enjoying working in so many different countries at the moment because I've got the ability to be able to do it. And that purely is because for the last 4.5 years, all we have done is build monthly income, monthly income, monthly income, and monthly income. I've been able to take the whole of July off, bar the last 2 days pretty much, to be able to do whatever I want because do you know what? I've got the team that support the delivery and also the way that the offer is working. It is monthly income every single time. So one of the things we're trying to do as a business is help you understand the power of monthly recurring contracted revenue, where you're not having to sell every single month trying to put food on the table. It's the worst position to be in. I've been in it and I hated it. So that's the first key point. Building sustainable business is what me and the whole team are trying to help everybody do. We share so much information out there on how to do it. You just need to go and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow our podcasts, follow us on it. You'll see so much stuff out there on there. But the biggest point is that bottom one, is that what we share is the stuff that we have proven. You will get no generic surface level information from us. Everything that I'm going to share, every opinion that we've got is supported by evidence that we have tested for months before we share it. So all the content that I'm about to give you in this has been tested, I would say, relentlessly for the last 12 to 18 months, probably slightly longer, because the process, we've not really changed too much because the platforms had a massive change over the last 4 years, but in the last year and a half have been pretty simple to manipulate when you understand how to do it. And so what I'm curious, before I get into the main content part of this today, is I want to get a bit of an understanding of what it is that you do. So what product, what service do you currently sell? Inside of the chat box for me, just let me know. What is it that you're currently selling right now? Now, I'm predicting lots of people coming to me and saying, I'm a consultant, coaching services. If you're a coach, coach in what? If you're a consultant, consultant in what? I want to know the specifics of what it is that you do, because this is where we need to get into the detail, because I'm going to pick on coaches here and not to be an arse. I'm just the first one that I saw. People label themselves a coach. I actually believe do them a massive disservice. I think they lose out on so much opportunity by calling themselves just a coach, because there are millions, if not close to 5-10 million people calling themselves a coach. How on earth are you going to differentiate yourself? I'm technically, I guess you would call me a coach to our customers. There's some of you on here. Some of my customers are on here watching today. You may call me a coach, a mentor, bit of a moron at times, to be fair. However, I don't call myself a coach because I'm just going to then get lost in everything else that I do. All of my audience are going to try and label me and pigeonhole me as the same as everybody else. The biggest first lesson I can give you in this whole set is you need to learn how to differentiate yourself from everyone else that's out there. Now, I'm not saying you need to niche. That's not what I'm saying. Some people default to think you need to niche at this point. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the way that you label yourself, the way that you label what your business does is important. And every word that you put out there into this online space matters. You're leaving first impressions every time that you show up online. And so you need to make sure that you make them count. Now, I'm just going to move that Zoom thing out the way and talk to you a little bit about digital products and high ticket packages. Now, high ticket, I typically mean £10,000 packages or more. Digital products can range from £1 all the way up to, I would typically say, £2,000, £3,000 is kind of like over a year is your total price point. When I look at digital products, so I look at kind of monthly retainers at 100 to 300 quid a month is kind of like the sweet spot. 50 quid a month typically works as well. But again, that's the range. Now, what I want to talk to you about is kind of like where I started to realize the power of this, because back when I first started my consultancy / social media agency, after the property business. I used to, I tell you what, send hundreds of messages. I used to post endless amounts of content. I used to network all over the country trying to sell my agency services. I also used to do online trainings and online courses, and I used to spend hours trying to fill rooms for them in the same way. I used to send messages every day trying to get decision makers' attention. But what I noticed, and some of you, and again, I want you to be honest with me if possible here, I had the harsh reality of understanding that the people that I was trying to talk to didn't see my service as a priority. And so they may even have the conversation with me, but I always used to get the answer of, this is great, Chris, but just not now. And when you then used to go back and ask, well, when? I never got a definitive answer. It was like I was just being shoved. And the reality was that what the words are saying on there, I wasn't a priority to them. I wasn't the number one problem they were looking to solve, and it was going to require too much effort. I'm curious, is there anyone on here that's been in a similar position to that recently? Maybe in the last 6 months, where you've had a conversation with somebody, you may have given them a proposal, giving them a quote, whatever, and then just being shoved, just being pushed down the line as if, do you know what? Yeah, that's a great, we'll come back to you another time. Like, it's too busy objection all the time. And so what you've got to understand is that you have the ability to be able to push your service to the top of the priority list if you know how to communicate what you do in a better, more succinct, more powerful way. And this is where the impact of psychology comes in to marketing and sales. And this is the stuff that I guess if you ever look us up, we don't really share that we do this, but actually this is the bit where we make the biggest difference. It's understanding how to frame what you do to the point where somebody wants and needs to solve the problem. My first business changed when I stopped flogging things that people just didn't want. I used to have an Instagram 2-day course. That was one of my first training courses that I used to sell. And it was something which I had, I think it was about £500. And it was a real challenge to get people to give me 2 days of their time to come and learn about the platform. I didn't know why. That was what everyone else in my kind of peer market was doing. I was part of a mastermind group and everyone was kind of doing the same thing, running 2-day courses. I found it really, really difficult to sell it. And so what I was doing was giving like a couple of influencers, a couple of tickets to come along to fill the room up. I used to go all over the country trying to sell tickets to it. And it just was really, really difficult. And the whole kind of noise of this thing changed when I understood the impact the digital products make. And I'm going to be sharing with you kind of like my first ever digital product that I sold. And it's this thing on the right-hand side there. It was called, this was off the back of my property business. It was called The Complete Guide to Serviced Accommodation. It was 50 quid initially. And we put it out to my Instagram following that I built at the time. Like I had quite high engagement levels there that you can see. I did an Instagram story, put it out there, and it flew off the shelf. Like we sold, I think it was close to like 2,500 copies of that thing. And it was literally just an ebook with a load of contracts and resources. But no one else was really doing it then. So it was new and it was fresh. It did really, really well. But I then kind of like forgot about it when I then moved into the Instagram business and started to copy what the people were doing. We then switched our whole program after we realized that 2-day course was a bit of a bust to a £250 a month, 12-month program. And it was called the Social Selling Academy. I realized that there was a real lack of accountability in the marketplace. There was a lack of one-to-one support. Everyone was buying these online courses, but they didn't really deliver any value whatsoever. And I thought there was a huge gap. And I remember sitting down with my two business partners, Nick and Sam, and we looked at it and we went, there is a real opportunity here for a low ticket-ish kind of service where we deliver the business growth knowledge that we've got. We deliver the accountability. We deliver the support. And we make it a no-brainer price point of which normally people are paying thousands and thousands of pounds for. And it absolutely flew. It literally worked incredibly to the point where we've got a number of members that are here now. We had the time to work with our clients. And I absolutely love these types of businesses because it gives you that flexibility. It gives you that, dare I say it, freedom, really, because of the monthly revenue. I mean, out of interest, for those of you that are on here right now, Who of you have got monthly recurring revenue in your businesses right now? Just give me a yes if you've got that monthly recurring contracted revenue, and that's your business model. It is the best thing ever, I think, because again, it means that if I want to have a month where I don't sell anything, I can. And if I want to hammer it down month in, month out, again, I can, right? And that's kind of like my LinkedIn profile. I've been working similar hours. I've kind of been working UK hours, but in international time zones. So, like right now, it's 25 past 7 in the evening where I am. I think it's 25 past 10 in the UK right now. I did the exact same thing in the US, in the Europe when I was doing that at the same time. But it gives me that ability when I set the business up in the right way, not to have to be in the UK if I don't need to be. That was a choice that I wanted to make. And this is where we move into positioning, because your business model is totally and utterly up to you. You don't have to follow in my footsteps with what we've done with ours. You can do it differently. But what I want you to do is start thinking about it properly. And the way that we do it is by splitting it into 3 sections. Part 1 is around your audience. Part 2 then is around your offer. And part 3 then is how you then deliver it. So when it comes to your audience, and this is the point now, if you've not already started to take notes, this is the point to get your notepads out. Because there's one thing building an audience online. There's another thing building the right audience online. And my question to you right now is, who are you currently connecting with online? Who are you getting responses from? And also, who are you targeting? Because what I've noticed time and time again is, and you can see kind of like my follower graph down the right-hand side, is that people are building their networks up with their ideal clients, which is obvious, right? You want to build it up with people that are going to be interested in buying your stuff. Now, my problem with that is that you don't tap into the number one reason why people are on social media in the first place. Does anybody know the number one reason why people are on social media in the first place? Does anyone know it? It's a really, really important question. And the answer will give you a real, real nice insight into the way that I want to take this. The normal answer that I see is to, I guess, sell their services, to build a brand, to get in front of the right people, to network. Actually, that's unfortunately wrong. When you look at the statistics behind it, the number one reason why people are on social media is because they're bored. And when you understand that, you will realize why what I'm now going to share with you at the whole of this presentation is so, so crucial. It is why who you connect with is paramount to your success, and why typically you shouldn't just solely connect with your ideal clients. Your ideal clients, now I've seen a number of you doing different things in the chat box there. Your ideal clients typically aren't in there to see the information that you're posting. I'm going to pick an example of a leadership consultant. As a CEO or COO of business, whatever we call ourselves these days, I'm not on LinkedIn, right, to find out information around how to lead my teams better. I'm on LinkedIn purely because it distracts me from everything else that I'm doing. And I like to kind of see what's going on with my friends and everything else. I'm trying to distract myself, really, right? The other reason is for my own selfish reasons of selling my products and services. They're the two, the key ones. Now, the real important thing here is if your engagement isn't going up, you need to change who you're connecting with. If you're posting content around leadership, you need to be connecting with people that are already engaging in leadership content. That needs to make up at least 50% of your network invitations. Purely because if you then start posting your content with people that are already interested in similar types of content, if yours is better, you will pinch their engagement. There is no doubt about it. If you're getting 50 to 100 to 200 reactions on a post, I know people out there will say vanity metrics don't matter. I'm here to tell you that perception is a thing. If you've got 50, 100, 200 reactions on a post and the content looks good, and I've only got 1 to 2 reactions or maybe 10 reactions on a post, your audience are more likely to go and work with the person, unfortunately, they've got a 50, 100, and 200 reactions versus my 10. It's just a fact, and it's obvious, and it's common sense. And so what we all need to realize is how we play this game properly. Do not just solely connect with ideal clients. Split it. Yes, you still want to be connecting with people that are going to buy from you. But your number one priority on LinkedIn, on this platform, if you're building a networker, is to drive your engagement up. That is where then your following will grow faster than ever. You can send between 100 to 200 connection requests a week. With your content, you can get 100 to 300 followers a day. Connection requests, yes, they're important, but they're not going to be the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. If you want to see the thing that's going to make the biggest difference when it comes to selling digitally online, you need to understand how to build a following rather than just a connection list. And this is the huge, big disconnection that so many people are having. They're pigeonholing themselves by just doing LinkedIn searches of who their ideal client is and then hoping that they accept. The moment that I started to focus in on building active and interested audiences was the moment my whole followership turbocharged upwards. And with that, my following, when I last took that screenshot a month ago, was 21,743. It's now 22,600 something. And I've had the month off pretty much. I haven't had to do very much. But the most important thing is when you start building your audience up with the right people, as you can see from our Stripe screenshot on the right-hand side there, I need to update that really because we haven't got this year. I need to just realize it only says up to November 2023. But as you see, it's a direct correlation. The moment that I started to focus in on active and interested audiences, then I started to have the conversion process in there. The revenue went up in line with my follower number. And that is critical to remember. And so once we know our audience and have defined that properly, we can then craft our offers so it speaks directly to them. My question to you, right? You've got coaches, consultants, service providers out here, right? You've all said to me what it is that you do. What is your current offer? Like, what is the name of the offer that you sell? What is it? Ours is the Social Selling Suite, the Social Selling Academy. Like, what is yours? I want to see the list of them come up in the chat. I find that lots of people actually struggle to explain what it is that they do. And then the next hurdle is that they struggle to get their prospects to the point where they're jumping to want to buy it. I'm seeing a couple come in. I'm not seeing the huge amount of engagement that I was getting, which tends to result in me thinking that either you're completely utterly bored already or you struggle with it. So there's a few of you adding in, which is great. My next question, and these are things that you can take a screenshot of, right, as you go through, is do you find yourself spending hours trying to explain the value that you offer to a client? Another thing that I had at the beginning, I found myself convincing and persuading that my actual offer was going to be able to help someone. I used to think I was doing okay selling those workshops. And this is where I want to share with you about this switch that I made. This is that photo. You can actually see Sam there. I don't know, does anyone know my business partner, Sam Raffling? Give me a yes in the chat if you've heard of Sam. But you can see Sam. This is a gentleman here called John Cusick. And then behind John is Sam, who doesn't she look really entertained around my Instagram course, right? Look how much fun she's having. I think like she must be pretty much just looking at LinkedIn, I reckon, probably doing some prospecting rather than being interested in what I had to say that day. But that was in February 2020. And it was that day where I remember sitting down and talking to Sam and then sending a few messages to Nick afterwards. And to be fair, we all know what happened in February 2020, right? The world and actually stopped us from being able to run these rooms. And so it forced me to make a switch. I changed a stuffy 2-day Instagram course to a how to gain 1,000 followers in 30 days challenge. I went from a £500 2-day course to a £300 Instagram challenge that was on focused in on how to build 1,000 followers. My question to you is, can you see the appeal over an Instagram 2-day course, which people would, versus the how to gain 1,000 followers in 30 days challenge? Out of interest, which one would you be more likely to buy? 2-day course. So if you think that 2-day, or 1,000 followers, put 1,000 if you think it's 1,000. I want to see if this is kind of the similar sort of results to actually what we got, because I used to struggle so much trying to sell that 2-day course. But that 1,000 follower challenge, you can see there the month afterwards, I'd never made that much money from a challenge like that in my life. It spiked. And with it was the biggest realization that I was just flogging a dead horse. The offer was wrong. And this is where I think people struggle to see like the real light with this. You will have people ready to buy from you. The issue that you have is that people just don't understand what you do to the point where they want to buy it. You switch it so it's outcome focused, and bang, you'll start to see the biggest difference. And then once you've got that offer right, what you then need to understand is, because again, loads of people are selling time for money, you've all said it on here, is you need to then break down how you can deliver your service in a way that's scalable. And it all starts with, like I mentioned before, the building a following. Some of you actually put this in the chat. You want to learn how to build an audience, right? The How to Gain 1,000 Followers in 30 Days challenge was focused in on that. So we worked out what the outcomes were. And this is what you need to do as well. If you haven't done this already, you need to do this. What are your customers' desired outcomes? From there, write down the steps to be able to achieve that outcome, AKA the deliverables. And with that, then you can see on the right-hand side there, that's our whole social selling process on the right-hand side there. That's the journey that everyone goes through. Clarity, connection, control, conversion, and close with content overlapping. Right, you've got to productize the service so people can actually see what it's working. And we've done this with so many businesses now that we've got so many customer delivery journeys that enable people to be able to deliver their services in an almost, I guess, automated way. We then use the technology to support that delivery. And once you've done all of that, you then build the process so it sells that productized service. So rather than it being just one-to-one coaching or consulting or just a one-to-one service, you have somebody understand the journey that they're going to go on, and rather than buying you, they buy the process. And this is where then you can start to release yourself from everything that you're doing. That is our marketing process there that I'm going to be sharing with you as we go through this. But again, what I'm really trying to figure out for people here is what is going to be the easiest way for them to be able to, one, get their message right, two, get their offer connected to it, and three, build an audience up that you can then force through this process to the point where they want to buy. And at the end of this session, I'm going to be breaking down for you, or should I say, offering you the chance to speak with me about this. Totally free. It's always like a bit of a strategy session, I guess. But we'll talk through kind of your current services and what changes you need to start to make to start building a more systemized business. We'll also look at your social media process and identify what changes you need to make. And then what I'm going to share with you are the best ways, just my initial advice on the best ways for you to move to a digital product / high ticket consulting focus based business if you want to. Now, that says 15 slots available. There's actually 25 available over the next few days. If you'd like one, the QR code is there for you to scan. Now, that QR code is going to be in the top right-hand corner of the presentation as we continue through this. But once they're gone, they are gone, right? So you'll see the diary slots there available. There's some today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, as well as we're going through it. The link is there for you as well if you want to go through it. But can everyone see the QR code in the top right-hand corner? It's not covered up, is it? Just give me a yes if you can still see that QR code. Perfect. Okay, great. So whilst that's happening, it's all going to be up there for you. You don't have to do it. It's there if you want to speak to me about kind of like what it is you're doing. But your positioning piece, your top tips are there for you. The biggest point is being open to change. Like most people aren't changing what they're doing frequently enough to stay relevant. And therefore, one of the things that I'm going to be speaking about to you on those calls is how do you shift what you're doing to start driving your impressions up, driving your follower numbers up, driving then the number of emails going into your email list, and then the number of sales calls that you're getting. All of it critically important. And that is a lovely way of segmenting or segueing into process, which is part 2. My job today is, I guess, not to really make you like me. Some people will, some people won't. It's totally fine. My job today is to tell you the truth. And I'm asking for permission there to say that I hope that's okay. If it's not okay, probably best to leave because you're going to get it anyway. And most struggle when it comes to this stuff to generate consistent sales, right? So I'm speaking to the majority of people that are on here today, I guess. Most struggle to generate consistent sales on social because they lack one thing, and that is control. Control is the one thing that my business partner, Nick, has taught me over the last, I'd say, 3 years. And it's the understanding of numbers, data, and metrics, which I know doesn't sound the most sexy. But when you are in a position where you are posting and hoping, when you are sending messages and hoping, when you've got that service, that product that you know is good, but just not enough people know about it, when you're putting hours in on these platforms in the wrong places, that is where control hits home the most. Social media, unfortunately, has changed. Okay. And some people don't like to hear this because they want to carry on doing what they're doing. But 3.5 years ago, on the right hand side there, you can see the sort of content I was posting. I could post that every day and my inbox would be flooded because there wasn't many people doing it. And that sounds ridiculous because it was only 3.5 years ago, but it's a fact. COVID, probably shouldn't say that word on these things, but that thing that happened shifted everyone's mindset to a more digital and online world. And therefore, these platforms were flooded with content. The algorithms therefore changed because there were more users, and therefore user behavior triggers these platforms to shift in what content it then shows. You will all have heard, oh, LinkedIn's become a bit more like Facebook these days. Has anyone heard that statement, sentence before? I've heard it so many times. That's because there's more people using it. More people using it generically rather than just professionally. When I was in this business here, posting this content in property, I was experiencing feast and famine when it came to social media marketing results. What we've noticed is that there are people out there still sharing this advice of if you just remain consistent, eventually it will happen. If you just keep going, keep posting content, keep being visible, the right people will find you. Some of you might have heard this information just recently. People receiving surface level information of if you just reach out to 100 people a day, eventually it will happen. Not if what you're doing is absolute nonsense and crap. And this is the problem. I only have to look in my LinkedIn inbox now, and I would have received 1 or 2 messages from Tim and John trying to sell me the next best product that's going to change my life related to AI of some sort. If you're going to get success from social, you need to do things differently. You need to understand what makes these platforms tick. I will post every single day, typically without fail, unless something comes up. However, what I've got a mix of with my content, right, is content that's going to drive impressions through the roof and content that's really specific to what I do that drives the value and showcases why what we do is better than everyone else, in my opinion. What everybody needs, and if you haven't got one already, this is that big virtual kick up the backside, is a process that allows you to take control of your marketing and sales strategy. This is the bit where we really, really dive deep on with anyone that we work with. This is the first session. Whenever we have a session, like whenever someone joins, this is the bit that we focus on first. You need to understand where you're going to get your traffic from. You then need to understand how you're going to take control of it and then how you convert it. And the best way to explain this to you is to show you it. So on the right-hand side there is one of my good friends, actually, and he was one of the first people that I ran this marketing process work with. It's a guy called Jamie York. He has 7,500 followers on LinkedIn at the time, 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. He'd worked with other marketing people before. I think that's really important to say because, again, what we did was very, very different. But they hadn't built our process to move that audience to become customers. And so over a 6-week period, we identified the gaps and then built out his first conversion campaign together. On the right-hand side there, this was the first little map that we drew together, and we picked out 2 platforms to focus in on. I never recommend picking more than 2 social media platforms to do because it just becomes a bit much. We then set up an email list for him. Give me a yes in the chat box. And also, if you know it, out your email list size. If you have an email list, give me a yes. If you know the number of it, even better. How many people have you got on it? Jamie had around about 500 at the time. I utilize a list that's around about 8,000, I think, after the back of this webinar. It was 15.5, but we've just did a massive cleanse on it. That's been built through lead magnets, through webinars, through value addition that we've added to the marketplace. And we did the same thing for Jamie. Once you match the above, that process with a great message and offer, you then create that conversion piece of content. So this is a conversion piece of content, right? This is a webinar. I don't know if anyone's got any interest in running webinars, but it's one of the things that we specialize and teach is we help people build the presentations. We do it all, right? And if we look at the numbers of this, we looked at Jamie and went, right, Jamie's going to run a webinar and we're going to focus in on going through this and selling his programs off the back of a webinar. We looked at his LinkedIn traffic. We looked at his YouTube traffic. We looked at his email list traffic. And with it, the numbers are really, really simple. 80% of his traffic, and pretty much that's the average across anyone that we work with, 80% come from your email list. 20% come from your social media efforts. Now, I'm curious to know at this point, now, when you answer, can you make sure that you change your answer so you're answering it to everybody rather than hosts and panelists? I want to know, how did you get here today? Did you come here today off the back of an email, or did you come here today off the back of a LinkedIn event or LinkedIn? If you could make sure that you change it so you're answering to everybody, I want everyone to see this. 80% typically come from email. 20% then typically come from your social media efforts. And you can see the answers coming in here, right? This is why, if you've not got an email list and you're struggling to sell, this is why it is so important. This is why, if you're looking to grow solely on social media and you're not seeing it, this is why, because the statistics do not lie with this. 80% of all of our audiences come from email, 20% come from social media. As we then move through all of this, like I present these numbers to everyone that I work with, and every single time it is backed up, you then need to look at how you're going to drive that traffic. So with that in mind, 80% of the traffic today, right? So we've got 97 people that are still online right now, right? We had around about 250. So what you can see is if you're ever running a webinar, however many you get registered, you can expect a 50% show up rate. It's kind of what your target is. If it's below that, you've got a bit of work to do. 50% will show up. And then from that, 10% of people book a call in. So I don't know how many people have booked calls in already today. I don't know how many people have booked in, but hopefully 10% book in. Normally, from my workshops, I get around about a 20% conversion. But like from this here, 250 registered, 150 showed up. I had about 130 show up. Some people have already seen this workshop before as an example and then drop off. So that should result in 15 calls. And off the back of that, normally 85% of people then buy. Typically. So when I presented that to Jamie, we built that exact process. The process that I'm running now, we then built it again, right? So again, you can see the structure that I'm about to share with that process. You saw the structure. The webinar was what we used to drive the sales. Okay, big important point. The webinar is the vehicle, and there are loads of different vehicles that you can use: audits, free sale, like free strategy calls, webinars, loads of different things that you do, but you need to have one that you're driving traffic to. When you then, on the back of that conversion piece of content, introduce your services, that's where you turn your opportunities into sales. And I'll be talking to you about the importance of your message within your content. And then if you're going to do a webinar very shortly. But on the right-hand side there, you can see the results from just that first couple of weeks of running webinars. Not a bad little bit of a return there. But as a result of working through and building that process, so Jamie committed to running a webinar every 2 weeks for the next year with us. Oh, sorry, 13 webinars is what he ran. His team then focused in on that process. We got it converting organically first. Then we introduced paid advertising. And so we had 150 organic typically, and then that increased to 500 to 750 when we proved the concept. And then in year one, we broke the $1 million threshold, and he's not looked back from there. This process, we have personally helped now over 500 people create a webinar process specifically. We've done audits and free consultation calls as well, and direct sales as well at the same time. But we take people through that same process: your audience, your message, your offer, your journey, and how you deliver it. Jamie's gone on to do ridiculous results. Now, he is in a bit of an anomaly. He's a bit of a freak. He doesn't stop working. Sometimes he tunes into these and listens in. And so if you are there, hello. But he's done incredibly well, and he is a machine when it comes to this stuff. But this process, it's not just Jamie, right? I'm not going to sit here and read all of these out here for you, but we have got endless. You only need to look at my LinkedIn profile to see the recommendations that we have. this process, again, is simple in concept, but the devil is in the detail. And our latest one, and this came in on July the 28th, just a couple of days ago, actually from Jess. But again, here, 20K high ticket consulting contract one off the back of the process, right? And again, webinar set up and already maxed out on the invites 2 weeks in a row. Process is proven, the process works. And the top tips are there for you. The biggest one is do not guess your way to success. Do not post and hope. Do not send messages and hope. Understand the metrics, understand the data, and then you let the numbers dictate what changes you need to make. Because when you do, that is where the profit is made. To get this type of business going, right? To prepare you, I'm going to run slightly over today, just so you know, just to prepare you, just in case you need to message a few people. But to get this type of business moving, you've got to get the basics in place. And then you need two things: traffic and conversion. Now, traffic is getting the ability of strangers to want to talk to you, okay? Now, LinkedIn is a platform that the majority of you will be using, okay? So you all know the basics. You all know about building your network. You all know about posting content. But what you've got to do is find the right balance between creating for exposure and creating to convert, which is what I mentioned at the beginning. You need to then proactively reach out to people, driving through to your email list every single day without fail. When you get it right, you can then automate it. This is what I have done for the last 4 and a bit years, putting specific focused content out there that shares what it is that I do, social proof content, followed by content that I know is going to get huge amounts of impressions, stuff on mental health, stuff on addiction, all of this stuff to drive more awareness to who I am and what I'm doing and why we're here with business. And you can see here the different examples that pop up. Philippa in the background there had 500,000 impressions off the back of one post. It took our following from 7,000 to 7,600. This is why building up a network by pressing connect will no longer be in comparison to content creation to build a following. 7,000 to 7,600 in 5 days. That is never going to happen unless you are posting content that's got the ability to go viral. Viral, I would typically classify as 100,000 impressions or more. Very, very important to realize. And the power with all of this comes from your LinkedIn account, because the opportunity to reach people is huge. You can see my fiance on the right-hand side there, 880 followers she had. Very, very active on LinkedIn at the time, which is really important. She always reminds me to tell you this. When she did this I think it was like right about 10 months ago, it wasn't as effective. But at the time, she was very, very active on LinkedIn with 800 followers. She put this post live. 133,000 impressions she got from that post. Had nothing to do with her business at the time. It had everything to do with why people were actually on LinkedIn, apparently, because we all love dogs. We all love the storyline that comes onto this stuff, right? And when you get it right, you then see the inbound opportunities that come from it. Maria, you've asked, how do you get people from LinkedIn then onto an email list? The answer is lead magnets. And I will cover that more for you at the end as well. But when you do this, you don't need a huge account. You don't need tens of thousands of followers. A couple of hundred gives you the ability to get this reach if you post the right content. And when you do, you see the results that these people are getting. You've just got to understand how to play the game properly. Your process will do a lot of the work, but it's down to you to convert. And everything that you do matters. You've got to show up as the most passionate, most enthusiastic, like the best version of you possible. You've got to really tell people why you're doing what you're doing. This goes for your content. It goes for your webinars. It goes for everywhere that you show up, because people want to work with people that they believe in, that they're entertained by, they're interested in. And this, I know, doesn't count if it's just word of mouth and referrals, but if you're selling to strangers, you've got to get their attention. You've got to learn how to speak in this way. You've got to learn how to showcase your passion. If you're not, you're going to have to keep going to these networking events. You're going to have to keep relying on word of mouth, because unfortunately, there's so many people doing this now. You're just going to get lost in the noise unless you learn this skill. We spend hours reviewing people's work every week. We work with people one-to-one on this stuff, breaking down every specific post that they do, the profiles they write, the messages they send, the webinars that they run. It's the detail of all of this stuff, and we can never stop improving. And Angie McQuillan, you can see there, has quite a large following, actually, 42,000 followers that's there. I think she's just crossed. But this is the sort of feedback that people receive, very specific feedback on what she needs to do to be able to win. When she implements it, you can see here, 329 registered on Zoom, 17 calls booked, 9 to chase, 26 leads in total so far. Thank you, Chris, for your advice on how to tweak it. Then there was more feedback. So they're great results, but there's always more we can do. We run the next webinar, we run the next audit, we run the next sales call, we watch all of it, we give you feedback on it all. But this feedback you then take and you implement it. Again, you can see here, 18 scheduled calls, 3 signups, 14 more scheduled calls to complete. The proof's in the pudding with all of this. And when you join all of this together, you create a journey that generates customers consistently. I need to echo it. This stuff is not rocket science. The devil is just in the detail. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is they think we only help people with their social media profiles. That is not the case. We are about business growth. Sustainable business growth. We help people with everything apart from finance. We give advice in every single area because we've got the expertise to be able to do it. Between me, Nick, Sam, Elise, Victoria, and Zoe, we've got pretty much every angle covered for growth. And our only job is to help people grow sustainably. We noticed early on in our journey that most people are struggling because they cannot get people's attention. This is all a process that we have to go through with you. Your offer, your target market, your nurturing sequences, your conversion. This is just one process that you need to build, and then you add details and little bits to it to help bolster it up. The feedback is very, very specific in what we do. And this is just a perfect example of how this process works, right? You send a message out. You can see the message that I sent to Caroline there. I think her name was at the time, February 6th. Hope you're well this week. You can see here, she responded to me 30 days later on. They didn't respond to me straight away. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Social Selling Academy you advertised on your profile? Nice inbound lead. What I didn't try and do was sell to her straight away. I said to her, look, I've just got your message. Let's have a call and talk through things. We spoke through things. I also sent her a copy of the webinar. When you run a webinar as an example, or you create video content, you can then send that content out evergreen. And you can see here within 3 hours, bang, she bought. That is a typical process, right? We get those pretty much at least once or twice a week. But it's because the processes are there that allows us to do it. And so my big points on this is to start generating a consistent flow of leads into your business. You don't need to be posting hundreds of pieces of content, okay? You just need a process in place that effectively nurtures that person to a point where they want to buy from you. And then you need that promotional plan to start generating new traffic consistently. This term social selling, people have different definitions of it, right? It isn't easy. It takes effort. And it takes a bit of testing to get right. And that's what the Social Selling Suite is about. It's about providing you with the training, the accountability, the mentoring, and also the technology to support the implementation of this. So the training with how it works is we're going to work with you to build out your campaigns. There's 6 phases that you work with. We start in clarity, and we work through connection, connect, content, control, conversion, and clothes. And then we will teach you how to build out your traffic sources and drive people through the process until they convert. We teach on every platform: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, podcasting, email marketing. It's all included. It's a one-side, it's everything included on business growth. And we teach you it all. There's a video library that we would direct you to watch certain things. And then we review your work as you go. There is a training video for anything that you need to start generating revenue sustainably. We review it every single month. There is always new content in there, and it's broken down into step-by-step roadmaps for you. We drive you through this process. Big thing here. At every step of the roadmap, we agree a deadline that you work towards. It's system generated and also managed by our team. You simply submit your work, and we review and tell you whether you've done it right, you've done it wrong, and if you've done it wrong, what you need to change. We give you feedback at every stage, and you are simply following the process that we do every single day without excuses. You've just got to follow it. Do the hard work. Because if I can do it, you 100% can. And we will be mentoring you every single step of the way. So every Monday at 12 p.m., every Thursday at 2 p.m., we get together as a group. You also have one-to-one check-in calls with me, with Nick, with Sam, with Elise, Victoria, talking you through different elements of this process. We will challenge you. We're not going to give you advice that you want to hear all of the time. We are going to give you the honest truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And we're going to get you working at the levels required for this to be a success. We are relentless with this, right? We work hard, we play hard, we have a lot of fun. And what we do is immerse ourselves into this process so you see results quickly. And if you ever struggle, we are a message away. This lady was on the verge of giving up. And literally within about 24 hours of the call, she closed a 45 grand contract. I always love sharing that one. Led with Donna McGrath, if you want to know who she is. Technology is then the tech that we use to support it. So again, you get access to this. We know how much money you spend on it. We have built our own landing page software. We've built our own email marketing software, all the different tracking that goes into it, link tracking. It's all in there for you. The CRM will be launched very, very shortly. No more stressing about how to use these things. We will show you how to do them on your calls. Everything is there for you to be able to do just to support the implementation of this as well. So today's offer is really simple. There's no like magic offer or anything. It's very, very simple. You work with us for a year. We don't work with anybody less than a year. You get 12 months access to it, where you work with us literally every single day of the week, Monday to Friday, driving your business forward, and also with a sustainable monthly recurring revenue model. If you can do it with your business, you'll get access to receive all the feedback you need on your activity with us, one-to-one calls and accountability check-ins to ensure you get the work done. Do not book a call and sign up to this if you're not prepared to do the work. Again, we do it with you. So again, you're just following what we do. You get access to the technology. You get access to the weekly mentoring. You get access to all of our templates. So presentation templates, email marketing templates, viral content templates. You also get access to a LinkedIn and Sales Navigator training program that's been created by my business partner, Sam. And it's all for just 250 quid a month. One-to-one support, all of the tech, all of the mentoring. And there's a couple of other things as well. We also run a mastermind. Every quarter, a mastermind is ran. This is in person. People typically spend 5 to 10 grand a year attending masterminds like this. We bring 20 to 25 of our members together. It's first come, first serve. They're free to attend when you join the £250 a month subscription. Right. The next one is in September. Nick is running this. I'm not in the country, unfortunately, but I'll be tuning in via Zoom. Nick is running this with Sam and the team in Birmingham. And again, there are specific sessions and it is a formal mastermind. That is included in today's offer. You also get, if you join, you get a 30-minute one-to-one strategy call with me. So we go into this, and basically what I'm going to do is rip your business model apart, and then we're going to put it back together again together. And these are going to take place throughout the next 2 to 3 weeks where I'm going to be running them. And so with it, you've got the breakdown there, 12 months access, masterminding, one-to-one support, one-to-one call with me for 250 quid a month. There's nothing else to it. Very, very simple. The offer expires on the 2nd of August, 2024. So I believe that's Friday. That's when I begin onboarding. We start right away. There's no waiting. August is always the most incredible month for us. It is where everyone else takes the foot off the gas. I literally quadruple down in August because you know what? When everyone else goes on holiday, there are more people on their phones than ever before and less content than ever before. And so there is bigger opportunity to grow in August than there ever is in any other month. I was going to say apart from Christmas, but even then, August is the month where everyone relaxes and we take advantage. And what I'm going to encourage every single one of our members to do is do the exact same thing. The QR code is there for you to scan. I have no idea if there are any calls left. And what I'm going to do is, you just asked me to keep that on screen. Sorry about that. Go. So that is there for you. I'll leave that up for the next couple of minutes. I'm going to have a quick look in the chat box. However, was that helpful today? Did that give you some insights, some things to think about, some things to look at, some things to change? If it did, just let me know. Give me a yes, thumbs up, whatever. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the Q&A. I have slightly overrun today, so I do apologize. I don't know when my next call is, so it won't be fun for that. Hopefully, I won't be late. Is there a web link for the dinosaurs that cannot scan the QR code? Yeah, let me do this. Here we go. Socialselling.co.uk / apply. If you just use that link there, that'll book a link into my diary for you as well. Thank you very much for attending. You've been a great audience today. The engagement's been really, really high. And I love it when that happens because it makes these things so much more fun and interesting. For those of you that have booked your calls in, I look forward to speaking to you. I'm just trying to find the Q&A section. There it is. And I'm going to go through these now. If there's anything in the chat box that I see, I'll cover it as well. Chris Thorne, been hearing more about posting less often, 1 to 4 times a week, but better quality content. What do you think of that as a strategy? I post every single day and it's high quality. That's how I kind of determine it. So the more quality content you can put out, the better. If you have a cap on it, typically that kind of, I'll be really honest here. People say this to make it feel like you've got to do less work. Less work typically isn't always the answer until you've done a lot of the legwork beforehand. So what I would say is that I would never follow that. I would look to post every single day and just have a content plan in place that I know is going to drive that traffic so it's worth my time. That would be my strategy over anything else. I'm just going to check the chat box as well. Probably missed a slide. And it's not a problem. If you want to drop me a message on LinkedIn, I'll try and find a slot for you. Not a problem at all. Not a problem. If there's no slots left, I apologize. I could probably try and fit a couple in, but just let me know. Sue, to connect with people already engaging with your topic, how do you easily see what people are already engaging with? Great question. So what you can do is find some influencers in your space, some people that are already getting high engagement, go into their comment section, or you can go out there and you can search for other people that do what you do, check out their comment section as well, and go and then look at the activity of where they're spending their time. So you may or may not know this, but any LinkedIn user, if you click on their profile and then go to the activity section on their profile, so it's normally where all their content is, you can see the comments that they've left, every single comment that they've ever left. So from there, you can start to see the sorts of content that they're engaging with, and then you can look to do the same thing. So I hope that helps. Madeline Barr, how do you find the group of people who are engaging with your type of content? Do you go and find a good fun? Sorry, that's the same question. Yes, exactly that. Exactly what I've just said. So go to their profile, go into their activity sections, check their comments, and then you go from there. Does commenting and engaging with others who your audience follow increase your own followers? No, it doesn't directly increase it, Jill. But obviously, if you're leaving comments, that will then make people see your name in their comment section. Maybe they'll click your profile, maybe they'll follow you. So it's not directly, but it may happen. I don't really have engagement as part of my strategy. I was testing it a short while ago, but it didn't really give me the amount of time that I was spending. It wasn't worth the return I was getting. I would be much better putting that time in creating a better lead magnet, posting about that lead magnet and getting 100 to 200 leads. And I would be commenting. Like my content outperforms my commenting. And so time box it if you do it at all. What do you mean, Jill? Sorry to be a bit of an idiot. It's I just need to double check. Time box it if you do it at all. Just add to that. Let me know what you actually mean. Facebook as well. Charlotte, do you see way less engagement on LinkedIn than other social sites? No, the engagement's there. Facebook, people have this thing like Facebook, you can't get reach. Instagram, you can't get reach. Like one of our clients, George Burns, reached 1.2 million people on his Facebook profile the other day. Like, if you're not getting reach, this is going to sound horrible. If you're not getting reach, your content's not very good. And so I had it to like yesterday, my post yesterday had a link in it. It was a blatant kind of like offer, kind of pitching something, just testing it. It got 600 impressions. Shocking. I want to delete it, right? Now, that was created for a certain demographic, and I've got one lead off it. So it's not bad, but it's never going to get the impressions. Whereas I post about business lessons of what I'm doing, and I generated 60,000 impressions of that a week and a half ago. So like the impressions are there, the engagement is there if your content is good enough. If you're not getting it, it's not the platform, it's not your audience, it's you that's got to improve. And so I don't mean to insult anyone with that. I just want to be really honest. Like you can get reach on any of these platforms. They all still work. Even people are seeing huge growth on Twitter and X right now. I've never seen it. It's because I'm not very good at it. And so again, you've just got to make sure you understand how these platforms work. Perfect. So with that all being said, thank you very, very much for your time. I've absolutely loved today. I am going to take a photo because I've got my post to do afterwards with my opera house in the background. Well, not my opera house, but you know, I absolutely love the fact that the opera house is right there. This apartment, we are very, very spoiled by Harbour Bridge, Sydney Opera House. Amazing. Anyway, Have an amazing evening, day. It's actually morning where the majority of you are. So have an amazing morning. For those of you that are in Australia watching, have an amazing evening. Thank you very much for your time. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Thank you very much and goodbye.